Hey, we're all here. The gang's all here. Hey, Judy. Hey, everyone. I'm just going to bring everybody up. Bring them all
Yep,
up.
here I am.
I'm not going to babble.
We'll do it then.
Oh, okay. Here's Judy. Here's
Yeah,
Ann.
hey, Ann.
And I see Justin is actually watching us live tonight. That's really cool. And Sector 31 is here. Here we're wrapped around shooting in March. Sector 31 wrapped. Didn't want to pull on the Sector 31. Is it? It's a new Star Trek show. You do realize that I worked on with the original crew. No, I'm not that old. I'm pretty old. That was
in another way. Sorry.
I can't hear you,
Star Trek,
Ann.
the motion picture, and Next Generation, and the last picture with the original crew. So, what happened to Ann? Where'd she go?
I couldn't hear her. She was having some audio problems.
Okay, join.
Anyway, I'm still the bouncer today. I just
Wonderful.
won't be typing.
Okay. Well, that's great, Justin. I'm glad to have you here. No, Groucho Trout is here. Okay.
Yeah, we've got 25 people.
Hey, Rob in UK, and of course, Hot Rod is here. Hot Rod UFO. That's because he loves. We both love cars, and Judy loves cars. There's some of us here that love cars, and of course, you've probably all seen Blue Moon by now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing. It's, I kissed my second girl in one of those. I went all over the place to all kinds of concerts and saw Jim Morrison and all kinds of people because in 1969, a very close friend of mine that was, we were in a band together. His dad got one. Well, his dad bought it, but he never got to see it because we always had it. We went everywhere in that thing. It was just wonderful. I've had lots of Volkswagens. I've always loved them. To me, they're poor man's Porsches. They have the same air-cooled engine, and it's in the rear, and basically they're made by the same people, the same design, and all that.
Oh,
Porsches today are not as good.
There you are.
They're water-cooled. Yuck.
Okay, add to stage. There you are.
We get Ann back. Hi, Ann.
Hey.
Can hear you now.
Yes, I just bought a new tablet, and for some reason my mic's not working on it, so I'm just using my little tiny phone to see you here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
For some reason the mic's not working. It's probably just not selected. And every one of those things is different. You have to look in your settings to find it. So
yeah, I'll work on that.
Hi,
Thanks.
So
Hi,
how is
Judy.
everyone? And that includes everybody in chat who's not on camera. Some of you could come on camera, but you're not. So
Well,
there's a
after
lot
this
of you
week.
here.
Yeah, I don't want to be
Great.
like the only one that always does this. You guys, come on, step up.
Hey, Painful. And there's Florida Man. Wow. Okay. Well, we just finished up the next show, and we're diversifying a little bit.
Out in different tangents.
Well, yeah. I mean, the guest that we had today on camera, she's a spiritual worker, and my phone is making noises, but it's far away where it belongs. And she can channel. She was fantastic. She just looked at the camera and just told her story beautifully. But there are people I know who object to channelers, and they'll object to people like the show we're having this week is Camille's husband, who has had experiences, not being abducted, not having close encounters experiences with.
You can say it here. We can't type it.
Well, I just don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't trust.
The word.
There's a lot of
We don't
stuff
use
going
the
on
A
inside
word
the
anymore.
Don't use the A word.
No.
So he's seen plenty and seen UFOs and all that stuff. That's probably why him and Camille got together, because they had that common interest in. And his take on things is exactly the same as everyone else's. I think he's an astrologer for the stars in Hollywood. Of course, Camille's an actress. And then the girl we had on today. Hello, Philip. The girl that we had on today, Mariam. As I said, she channels and she helps people reach a higher frequency, because it's her belief that if we reach a higher frequency, in some cases, we all of us here already have reached that higher frequency. We're able to communicate with the beings, whoever they are, extraterrestrials or aliens, whatever you want to call them. And she feels that we all, the people who have had physical contact like we have, and the people who are channeling, and the people who are having spiritual interfaces with them, we're all working together. We're all really one unit to bring about finally one day open contact with this intelligence. And I agree with her. So there will be people that'll say, well, I don't know about those channelers, and I don't know about the airy fairy crystal people and that kind of thing. But the thing is that every time we have these people come in front of a camera, you can see the truth coming from their eyes, that they really do believe they've experienced what they experienced, and they're capable of doing the things they're able to do. And I've seen a couple of different people channel. In fact, early on, I was very skeptical of it. But, as the older I get, I realize that I don't channel, so I don't know. And if these people really are channeling spiritual being or aliens, or what do you want to call it, who am I to say that they're not? And from our own experience, we know that they communicate with us, telepathically. And so what's really the difference? So, we don't sit there and have a face-to-face conversation. Hey, Bob, how you doing today? Hey, the ship looks pretty clean. I mean, it's just not like that. So, so we're keeping this wide open for all people to share their experience, their stories. And the interesting thing about all of them, no matter if they're a channeler or they're an astrologer, they all start off by saying the same thing. I don't feel like I belong here. Or I look at the stars and I feel like I want to go back to them. I hear this over and over again. Every single person that comes in front of her camera does that. And they're not aware that the other people have. So that's really interesting to me. Now, as you know, we've had our little thing with YouTube, and then I'm talking to Yvonne Smith. I'm talking to Yvonne Smith this morning. She called and she said that everybody's having trouble, not just on YouTube, but Jim Lowe has been having problems. Conferences have been shut down. There was supposed to be one at Wright-Patterson. So we are getting resistance from the deep state, or whatever you want to call it.
They don't know that resistance is futile.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's okay if you're a nuts and bolts UFO researcher. You have credibility. You're just observing the craft and trying to ascertain how they function, what's going on. Well, why don't you talk to the people that have been inside? Oh, no, those people are all crazy. They take away from us. They take us down. And that is what we're up against. And so even YouTube, they'll let them do the nuts and bolts, which is fine. I'm fascinated by it. And yeah, I want to know how the craft work and everything too. But they treat them fine, and they can do that. But us, they tag. Us, they warn us about. Us, they connect to Wikipedia, which is just a cesspool, as I said before. Anybody can go in there, including the skeptics like Joe Nickel and the guy from the Skeptical and Prior stuff, and put in there under the definition of abduction, alien abduction, that these people are all troubled and they all are delusional, and that's basically what it says. And so if people click on it and read it, and they think Wikipedia is some sort of official site, and even if it was, it's still in the back pocket of the deep state, or whatever you want to call it. So it's but we're just going to keep butting heads with them and keep doing what we're doing. They only have one way to.
It's really odd. Censorship is not complete censorship. It's how they react to us when we say things. And like, they won't recommend you if you use certain words, and they throw warnings on in the over our description. And so it's a very, very subtle, shadowy type of censorship.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, I tell Mary, I said, I just feel like, we're living in X-Files, and we really kind of are. I mean, because X-Files was really telling the truth for the most part about those shows were right on the money, and even the one we watched last night is reminiscent of some things going on down in Peru that
Hey, West.
I'm staying quiet about for now, because I know people who really believe that those mummies are real, and I know people who don't, and they're both friends and I care about them both, and I'm right in the middle. So in fact, I'm a little bit more to one way, and it's not in the ones who think they're real's best interest, because I tend to analyze things and look at things very carefully, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. So anyway, so how are all of you, and what's been going on?
I've been really sick.
Oh no.
I'm still sick. Had a fever for like 3 days.
Oh,
And it's just
my.
broke, so now
Hey,
I'm
Deborah.
sweating. So
Mm.
just a cold, but it's annoying. But
What's the weather like there?
oh, it's been beautiful. It was 85 and breezy today, sunny,
Oh, good.
puffy white clouds. It's been really low humidity. It was really lovely today. I'm in upstate New York.
Oh,
I know. That's why I asked.
Yeah. I know you know where I am.
Mm.
But I was gonna bring up something. I was listening to your segment with Yvonne, and I went out and got a couple of books,
oh yeah.
Cool.
and I just got them today. And I was reading.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you very
Yay!
much.
I was reading this forward. Do you know Grant Cameron?
Grant Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
He
know
wrote
of
a
him.
forward. He wrote a
I-
forward in
I-
Yvonne's book.
I know of him, but
Well, he mentions in
I've
his.
never met him. I know I've seen him, and he seems very cool to me. So
He lives up in Winnipeg.
mhm.
And anyway, in his forward, he said something that struck me. And being a child of the 70s, he mentions the music that we were listening to was infused with a lot of these ideas. And I've always loved Neil Young. And after the
Silver
gold rush,
Spaceships.
is a really, it's always intrigued me, because it's clear. We're sending nature's silver seed to a new home in the
Sure.
sun, and just the imagery. And that was like 1977. I looked it up. And then I was thinking that, do you remember the band Styx?
Yes.
Remember Styx, their song Come Sail Away? Do you remember that
Come
song?
sail away.
We
Sail
climbed
away.
aboard their starship. We headed for the
Sure.
stars. And I'm just thinking back on it. I never was interested in, this kind of thing as a child, but I was very spiritual. I was reading tarot cards with my girlfriends and, doing witchy things, spiritual things, but I was never into the alien ET thing. And yet I was being steeped in this music without even realizing it. And now it's just all coming back. And I wondered what you guys made of that, and what other songs you might, or what other artists. Like, I know Moody Blues were very spiritual in their
Oh
lyrics.
yeah, sure, absolutely. And then Pink Floyd.
And Pink Floyd. Oh, absolutely. And who's saying here? The Carpenters, Calling Occupants. Oh, that's
yeah.
right.
Remember that one?
Oh my God.
Thank you, Groucho. There are a lot of bands during that time, and hey, Mr. Spaceman, take me along for a ride. I won't
Yeah,
do
it was
anything
there
wrong.
in our culture.
Because that was in the 60s, and that was on the Byrds' second album. And I do know that Jim McGuinn, now known as Roger McGuinn, he was definitely into UFOs. I mean, he was very much into flying and aircraft and stuff. And in fact, Carly Simon was right. He did fly his Learjet to the eclipse, the total eclipse of the sun.
Eclipse of the sun.
That was
Yeah.
what that song was about. But hey, Mr. Spaceman, little blue green footprints that glow in the dark. I hope they get home all right. I mean, you listen to that song.
Oh,
Woke
wow.
up this morning, I was feeling quite weird. I had flies in my beard, and my toothpaste was smeared over my window. They'd written on the wall, as it's so long and see you again.
What? I don't remember that song. I'm gonna have to let that's the Birds.
That
Okay.
was the second album. Yeah.
Okay.
Both those albums were great, but it's all through there from the 60s to the 70s. And then it just stopped.
Yeah. I mean, well, it went a little bit longer. Yeah. Do you remember ELO? Do you remember their
Oh,
covers?
sure.
And Boston, the band Boston, do you remember their covers were like big
Sure.
spaceships? Do you remember that?
Poco Harem also.
Poco Harem.
Yeah.
I remember the band Poco.
Whiter Shade of Pale.
Whiter Shade of Pale. What is Whiter Shade of Pale about?
Is that Poco Heart? Is that Poco?
Yeah,
Harem?
that is.
Oh, okay. I know that song.
If you all their songs are very suggestive and surreal. I'm trying to think of who else. Well, no, everyone's smoking and no one's getting high. Something, and there's UFOs. There's UFOs over in New York, and you may wonder why. That was John Lennon, because when he was standing on the balcony of the Dakota, a UFO came very close to him, and he got a good look at it, the flying saucer, and he talked about it, and he was very David Bowie. Thank you, Catkins.
David
he was
Bowie?
the man who fell to earth.
Yeah, David
But
Bowie.
Yeah,
Definitely.
love that
Smart
movie.
man, come on.
Lennon was a real big, he believed in that very much so. And
I didn't know that.
I saw one right up close and personal, and all I could think is somebody wanted to see him, because of who he is.
Yeah, because he had a platform. Yeah.
And Jackie Gleason was a huge UFO buff.
Who was it was it you that said Jackie Gleason was shown something by Richard Nixon?
I don't know. No, it wasn't me.
Okay, somebody somewhere I read or saw or heard or something that Richard Nixon actually showed. I mean, who knows? I mean, this could be one of those conspiracy things. I don't know. I'm repeating what I hear.
Yeah.
But that Richard Nixon had shown him like things that we had recovered from the crash, Roswell, and his wife wrote about it, and I guess there was a big flap because he told her and she wasn't supposed to say anything. It was all hush hush, and I guess Nixon supposedly got in trouble. Or at least that's the story I'm vaguely remembering.
Interesting.
Well, then there's the rumor that Marilyn Monroe was killed because of what Kennedy told her.
Yeah.
They drugged her and drowned her in the pool, made it look like it was suicide or an accident. So
yeah, I heard it was over this.
Yeah, I know. And so here on October 20th, they're supposed to release all that information to us. And you know darn well that if they do, everything will have a black pen through it.
Yeah.
Because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I have some questions for people to write in on if you're interested, and I have a recent experience and some things like that.
Do tell.
Do tell?
Okay.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about this afternoon whenever I decided that I would pop on here. I'm rehabilitating a shoulder injury, so I apologize for looking horrible and all of that. But
you don't look horrible.
Oh, thanks. But at any rate, I'm interested in the comments of everyone here. I used to think that the most horrible aspect of all of this for me personally was knowing that no one was going to believe what I had to say. And that, maybe 1 in 100 people wouldn't just immediately say that person's crazy. But as time has gone by, and I'm a senior citizen and all of that now, and have been having psychic experiences, I won't use the A word, since I was 11, before that even maybe. I think now the thing that's the most difficult for me, and I'd love you guys' opinion on this, is that I wake up every day knowing that I don't know what's going on, and not, wanting to keep an open mind about all of these very important questions, and not having the comfort of a certain worldview to cling to, but instead having to just be out there in the ether of, I don't know the answer to the questions that I really need to have some internal compass about what's happening in life and all those big questions about purpose and meaning and the soul and all those big ticket things. How do you guys live with just the open question every day and have any degree of comfort? If you do have any degree of comfort.
I look inward. I know, and Steve and I have discussed this, the answer for me isn't out there. I look inside.
Mhm.
And meditation helps me a lot with that.
I've been a meditator for over 30 years, and I'm not a very good one, I must say, but I do actually totally agree that any type of inner stance that you're going to find is going to be the key to some sort of personal equilibrium, personal happiness, as opposed to anything that's going to come at you from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you see what Catkins had to say, and
Yeah, I'm checking that out. Yeah. Yes,
and
yes, Catkins.
I was talking about that today because I have hobbies that completely take me besides meditation and doing yoga with Mary. We have hobbies and arts and craft things we love to do that when you're doing them, it just takes you completely away from this and it allows you to be in another space. And then when you come out of that realm and you face this again, it seems like it's fresh and you can get more of a sense of rest from it. And now you can face it again. And if anything, just think about it because I can't come up with any answers other than that it's happening and it's been happening, and we all seem to be very similar in the sense that we all. I mean, Judy's talking about doing witchy things and tarot cards and all that. I was doing all that too. I think we all did, and we all like to go out and look at the stars at night when the rest of the kids weren't paying attention to that at all. And I know I was considered strange by a lot of people in my family because, I wanted to be out in the backyard looking at the stars. I didn't care about watching baseball on TV or any of those things. I just wanted to be with my telescope. So I was kind of a spooky kid. And so we all have that in common. And I think there's a reason for it because we've had some sort of influence since we've been very, very young that's really guided our interests of what we're interested in and what we feel connected to. But at the end of the day, we still don't know why they're doing this. And I mean, I have some ideas, but no definitive answers. So,
well, we're working with as far as the ETs go, we're working with a limited intelligence compared to them. So it's hard to comprehend. It's just hard to comprehend what thought is out there that we can't comprehend. Does that make sense?
Well, I remember Whitley saying on a number of occasions, and I'm sure you all have heard this, that his late wife, Anne, said humanity needs to have good questions before we can find answers, that that what we need are good questions. And I'm not quoting that exactly correctly, but
I know what you mean, though, and I do recall her doing that, Anne. I mean,
whoops.
You don't ask them where they're from and what they eat and things. I think they're looking for something deeper than that.
Exactly.
Well, I have an experience to report.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to say one thing about what you were just asking about. For myself, I agree with both Steve and Mary about going within is very important. And I've been meditating since my early 20s as well. And but for me, what really grounds me and what gives me a lot of I don't know, just it's connection. It's connecting, especially with my children, my loved ones, and giving and helping others. Really, it keeps me from feeling that anxiety, that existential angst. I think what you're pointing to. That's all I
Yeah.
want to say, is connecting with my loved ones, especially my children.
Yes, that's really good. I'm a widow and I don't have any living family
Oh.
members. So I don't have those kind of connections.
Thank you,
And
Justin. It's very sweet. Really appreciate it.
hi, Justin.
Very,
Yeah,
very kind of you.
yeah, yeah. I think that for
I hope
me,
so.
the
I'm
I've
Yeah.
sorry.
I've
Okay.
gotten past the notion that people are going to accept what I'm saying in general, that I'm just going to be written off as a crazy poet. I have to be insane. And I even went and did a battery of psychological and physical brain tests to see if I was insane, and they all came out as quite normal. But
Yeah.
but
I
at any
remember
rate,
Whitley doing that too.
yeah, I thought, well, am I really just insane that these things that I can't tell anyone are happening to me, and that I really needed to face that question head on as to whether or not I just lost my effing mind.
Anne, that makes me think though,
Yeah.
how many people that we think we just assume they're not having experiences because they feel that if they told someone, they would, they would be ridiculed. And so when you're talking to these people and you think they're normies
Mm-hmm.
and they're having the same things happen, but they have that fear of talking about it.
Mm-hmm. When I was teaching English at the University of Arkansas years and years ago, uh, English composition, who, talk about a difficult class to teach because the students aren't interested, basically. What I did was I had them tell me their paranormal experiences, and then we used those as the basis of putting together grammar and essays. And that engaged the people in the class, and everyone had all kinds of what would generally be called ghost stories or paranormal stories, things that had happened to them and things that had occurred in their hometown or with family members, things like that. So it's not that it's in any way unusual.
Yeah, we
Right.
just don't talk about it. It's taboo.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
So we do hear, and what happens?
Yeah. I'm a poet too, and no, poets aren't crazy. They're very grounded people.
Well, we're going to have a poet on.
Oh, Whitley's
Yeah.
his book
Just put out
is poetry.
Yeah, maybe he's also finishing up another
Maybe
book.
he'll tell the one about the fly. I love that one.
The
Yeah,
Fly.
we were having lunch with him over in the marina, and he told us read he had it on his phone, and he read us the one about the fly, and it was really amazing.
Mm. I wonder if
He's an
that
amazing
book
person.
is. I wonder if that book is available on Audible or any of those.
I don't
I'll,
know.
I'll have to check that out, because I just found out this week that he sent a thing out saying that this book of poetry was coming out. So I've got to get a hold of that. I have a poem about Whitley in my book.
Oh,
So it's interesting. I think the name of the poem is "When I First Read Communion." It's not a great poem, but it was about that experience.
well, it should be interesting to see what he has to say and what you have to say to him, because I told him last night that about it's just open, and you can just come on and talk about whatever you want to talk about, and there'll be plenty of people that love you in there that will have questions
Ah,
for you. So
I hope to meet him someday, because I was, I guess you'd call it, the Western New York researcher for him back in the late 1980s when I was living in Buffalo. And of course, everything was very low tech then. And I would be sent people's addresses and phone numbers, I guess. And I would contact them, and then I would go to their homes listen to their experiences, write them down, and then mail them to Whitley.
Hmm.
And, and so I would love to talk with him sometime in person, or even on this platform, just because that has been a large part of my life, has been hearing people's stories, writing people's stories.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember you sharing that with us back a while ago.
yeah.
Um, he's been very caught up, not in the poetry book, but this other book, which I know
Mhm.
really, I know something about it just from the way he talks to me about this book, and I guess it's going to be quite a shocker, quite
Mm.
quite different, but definitely on the subject matter, and that's about all I know. Um, and he's been kind of obsessed with it. Well, not obsessed. He's just been working really, really, really hard on it, um, and despite that, all through that, um, he continues to communicate with us, by phone and by text, and we talk to him fairly often. And I keep saying, "Well, go back to work. I won't bother you anymore." And he never says, "You're not bothering me." So I know I mean. But I think the book he's doing is really, really important. It certainly is to him, but it's important to all us too, because evidently this might be the final chapter in on this subject matter. Although he's said that before, and for all I know, he's listening right now, and he's going to tell me I'm fired again. Because last night I saw that he joined our forum. I wrote to him and I said, "What? I just want you to know we have a forum, just so you know, and people are in there." I didn't suggest he joined it, but he did. And I got this new member and W. Strieber, and it's like, okay. So I went. He
Well,
didn't.
I'm sorry. I just hope that he knows how much he has carried the banner forward with
Oh,
his own keeping the question open and keeping things honest and relevant for decades now.
Yeah, we wouldn't
I,
all be here right now
yeah,
if it wasn't for him. And that's what I told him. I said, everybody really loves you. We wouldn't even have this community or be in contact with each other at all if you hadn't written that book and started this whole thing. So you've done really something good for the world. And he said, well, I didn't know that at the time when he was writing the book, that this is what would happen. And
can we
so,
get back to Anne's story?
well, I wanted to tell the story about giving him an avatar because he didn't give himself an
Ah.
avatar. So I texted him. I said, "Oh, by the way, I gave you an avatar. It's a screaming monkey head wearing clown makeup." He texted back. This has been going on for years with us, and it's about monkeys. And he wrote back, "You're fired." So,
I'm sure we all have really detailed memories of when Communion book first came out. Uh, I was living in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the time, and the I would see, I guess, in the Times Sunday section that this book Communion was number one week after week after week after week after week. So I saw the book at the Tulsa Public Library and checked it out, and my then husband was reading it, and he was a very, very genius, intellectual, very much in his mind, Gemini person. I never saw him have any sort of fear in all the years that I knew him. So he started reading this book before I was reading it, and I looked over at him, and he had a look of absolute terror on his face. And I said, John, what's that book about? Because it was just so very, very unusual to see somebody who was so intellectual to be having such an incredibly emotional experience as he was reading the book. So, so if I could say anything to Whitley, if I ever had the opportunity to meet him, it would be that I just hope that he knows in his heart of hearts how much all of our lives have been changed by what he has done over these past decades. So Whitley, if you hear this somehow, just know I really care about you, Whitley. Hope to meet you someday.
You may also feel good to hear that at Contact in the Desert, he got a standing ovation.
Oh, good.
Yay! Woo!
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not forgotten, Whitley, not by
No.
any means, and you are loved by so many people, and
Mhm.
myself included, for making our lives better, and you really have. So, Anne, about your
Tell us your
experience.
story.
I have so many, but
Well, the one
the
that
most
happened
recent,
recently.
yeah, the one that just happened in June. I was traveling from my home here in the Ozarks to Searcy, Arkansas, which is sort of eastern central Arkansas, and is about 3.5 to 4 hour drive from where I'm located. And I arrived and I had been gone for 6 hours. And I was just absolutely shocked because I couldn't account for 2 hours of the time. And I kept trying to come up with some rational explanation. Uh, I was basing traveling on Searcy from my frequent travels down to the capital in Little Rock, which was about a 3.5 hour drive. And Searcy should have been very, very similar. And so I just thought, what in the world? What in the world has happened? And so going home, it was between a 3.5 and a 4 hour drive going back. So I somehow lost, and I'm not using the A word because I have no recollection of what occurred during those 2 hours whatsoever. But it's things like that that just absolutely baffle me. So that's my most recent uh, encounter is I lost 2 hours and I had no idea
Wow.
where I was. So am I having some sort of brain glitch? Um, did something happen that I have no recollection of? It's things like that that are very baffling, to say the least.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, they're disturbing. I mean, when Mary and I were driving towards the North Hollywood area to go pick up some supplies from this supply house for doing makeup effects, we suddenly found ourselves on the 101.
Mhm.
It was a
Uh,
405.
it was 405, that's right,
405.
from the Highway 5, which is a pretty good trick because, 1 minute we were on that freeway and then we're on a completely different one. And it's very
That would have taken at least 45 minutes to get
yeah,
to.
but when you're driving and you don't remember, it's just like,
We missed our turnoff completely.
or something. I don't know, but we
It was
I
weird.
just don't know
Well,
how that happened.
how do you explain it to yourselves
I
when things
don't.
like that happen?
I
I
I
don't.
I just like the light at 2 o'clock in the morning that was like in the middle of afternoon. I can't explain it. I just try to accept it as part of my normal.
Mhm.
I there's no explanation why I got up at 2 a.m. and out the front door, it was daylight, and I can't think of anything else to do with it is to just treat it as something my normal.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to
I've
do with
had that
it.
experience. Yeah, I was visiting my family farmhouse when my parents were alive, and my I got up at 2 or 3 in the morning, like we all tend to do, and looked toward my mother's room, which was just about a little 9 by 10 bedroom with no electronics in it whatsoever, and bright blue white light was pouring out of her room. And I think I've talked about this before. I looked down the hall and just thought I need to go down there and see what's going on, but I was so terrified I could not walk the 20 feet down the hall to see what was happening. But
Totally get it.
how do you process that bright blue white lights pouring out of someone's dark room? How do you even think about that?
Yeah, I've had that happen a lot. I've had that happen many times, and my mind just tells me things that don't make sense. Like you know, the blue light in my room. Oh, it's just the light on the VCR, even though those
Mhm.
lights are only red and green. And,
Mhm.
you know, and it doesn't make sense. When I'm awake, I don't think about it. But then it happens again. And I'm like, you know, your brain just tells you, you know, some weird excuse or something, and you just believe it in the moment and go back to sleep.
And like Mary the other night, just recently, um, getting up in the night and I'm not in the bathroom and I'm not anywhere in the house and I'm not in the back room and I wasn't there. And that was the night that I also remember waking up on top of the covers again with the covers folded over away
And
from me. It's
this just
freezing
happened
cold.
this week.
Was it this week? No, it was
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the beginning of the week.
yeah, but I did remember that something had happened, and of course, you know, I told her about it when I woke up, and because I was on top of the covers again, and the way they were folded to one side, it's the second time it's happened in a few weeks, and I was just so cold because I don't sleep on top of the covers, and she says, "Well, you weren't in the house. I got to go to the bathroom, and you weren't in the bathroom, and you weren't in the house, and you weren't in the back room, so I just went back to bed." And
It's
that's how
just
Mary deals with it, you know, and
Mhm.
I suppose I would too. Now, if that happened to my late wife, she freaked out and she was ready to call the police, you know, but
Mhm.
because she just never accepted that these things were really happening. So,
Well, I had an experience fairly recently that was very similar to what you have described, Steve. I woke up, I was lying on a diagonal in my bed with my arms crossed over my chest and my hands tucked underneath my armpits, which just was not a way I would have ever naturally been. And
no,
I had the impression that I had been offloaded off of some sort of a cart or almost like a hospital bed or something, that I had been offloaded and left there in my bed in that position. And I wish I could relate to this in some more helpful way other than animal terror, but I was so terrified I turned on all the lights and just huddled, you know, in practically a fetal position for the rest of the night. So I've got to come up with some better way
Hmm.
to handle these
it's not uncommon,
experiences.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my arms are at my side. I mean,
Mhm.
perfectly. Just the way Joe
Mhm.
Stillwell described it. And I have my feet straight out, feet side by side, just like I was posed in that position and just dropped there. So it's
it's just
happened many times before,
Yeah.
but but recently it's happening again. So you never know what you're going to get when you go to bed at night.
Yeah, it's very disturbing to me. It really is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
I had a
Yeah.
very weird thing just a week ago, and I had forgotten it till you just started talking about this.
Isn't that funny how
I
that works?
yeah, I put it away. I really put it
Mhm.
away. This just came back to me. I woke up the other morning, like at 4 in the morning, and my pajama bottoms were torn.
Oh my
Like,
God.
now I could have been twisting in my sleep, you know, or whatever, but torn, you
Mhm.
know?
Ripped apart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
torn. I had to throw them away. I mean, it wasn't even
Gee.
like on along a seam or anything. It was torn through the middle of the fabric, the little
Mm.
shorts that I was wearing.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I just threw them away and forgot about it till now. Yeah.
Wow, Judy.
There's that
Mm.
automatic thing too, where you'll find clothing stained or damaged, and for some reason just throw it away.
Yeah, because you don't
Like
wanna
you
know.
don't think,
That's what I come back to is I really don't wanna know. I don't wanna know this is happening, but it is. So I can't refute it because there's evidence, 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 and I don't wanna know, but I can't refute it. I don't know. It's upsetting. It's upsetting. I think, you know, when I talk about things in the distant past, like in '95 in Maui, yeah, it took us 12 hours to drive a 4 to 6 hour drive. How did that happen? How did we even have gas for 12 hours in the car? I mean, that's just doesn't make sense. But I
Mhm.
just tuck it away and I repress it. And I don't know. My brain does whatever it needs to do to protect me, I think, so that I don't have to carry that in my waking day, you know, doing what I need to do, going to doctors and helping my kids or taking care of the dog or whatever, you know?
You must function.
Yeah.
I need to
Everything you
get
do.
better at repression.
I'm sorry?
I need to get better at repression.
Maybe. I'm pretty
Yeah.
good at it, apparently.
Mm. Well, I have.
Would hypnosis help, Ann? That's what Florida
No,
man.
I
You know what I
have
mean?
tried that on 2 occasions, but not with people like Yvonne, who seems to have a great lot of experiences. Back when I was living in Little Rock, back in the around the early 1990s, I went to a couple of different people that were related to a large group of people who were studying this in the Little Rock area at that time, and I did the hypnosis and saw nothing. All I could see was just sort of a white cloud, and I was being asked questions, but I just I saw nothing, so I wasn't going to pretend that I was having some sort of experience that I wasn't having. The only thing that was interesting to me at all about that was that the person asked, "Who are these beings?" And I immediately answered with a great deal of confidence, "The progenitors."
Wow.
And I didn't even know what that word meant. I had to look it up in a dictionary. And my best understanding of that would be that it would mean the very ancient ancestors, the most ancient rudimentary human ancestors, as opposed to your great grandparents or whatever. But I knew that the answer was that they are the progenitors.
Yeah.
We've heard
That
this
was the
term
only thing
many
that seemed
times lately,
Mhm.
That's
even
remarkable.
in Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know, I
Linda
had an
Blumenthal was mentioning that word in an interview I saw recently, talking about the progenitors. So when people use that word, which to me is not a common word that would be happening in conversation, that, Judy, I have to say, when I hear something like that, it does really shock me. And a part of me is like, oh, no, no, I'm not really a part of this at all. That's just a total coincidence that they're talking about the progenitors. That's not really real. So I understand that desire to say, oh, this isn't really real. Why am I saying it's real? It's not really real. But then something like that happens, and I think, oh my God.
It's real. Yeah,
Yeah, it's real.
I had an incident. I was doing hypnotherapy with Lori McDonald, and she's out in Pasadena, I think. And we were doing it, Zooming. And so I was in, she had put me under, and we were into the session maybe 20 minutes. And unbeknownst to me, I mean, I felt the room I felt the room was getting, your eyes are closed, and I do recall that the light in the room was getting brighter at one point. But after the session, she said, "I'm going to send you a picture." I took a picture of my computer screen because there was an orange orb right next to you
Wow.
when you were
Mhm.
under. And she took a picture of it, and I have it. I was going to send that to you, Mary, and I forgot. I apologize. I
Oh.
think I told you about
Please do.
this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so here was
Do you
irrefutable
have it? Can
proof.
we put it up?
No, can I find it? That's the
You
question.
do know about our forum
Ah.
too, right, Judy? You know about the
Yes, I can.
forum?
Let me figure out how to put it on the forum.
Okay.
I'll put it on the, well, I don't, this is another tricky thing too. I don't know if the picture belongs to me or to Lori because it was her session. So I don't know
Yeah.
who, like copyright law, I don't know who that belongs to, honestly. I
Well-
could share it with you privately, but I'm not sure I should put it on a platform.
Well,
I don't know.
ask her too, because yeah, it does have to do with you in your case, and I think it's important that people are able to see it.
And what's
Um,
really interesting in this orange orb, it looks like it's the profile of my father's face pushing like into my space. And I have a picture of my father that my grandfather took years ago, and he was probably 30 years old, and he was young and beautiful, and just this profile. And that is the picture that sprang to my mind when I first looked at this orb. I swear it was my father. I mean, my father died in this room that I'm sitting in right here, and I know he's with me. And it looked just like him. I don't know.
Wow.
Shelby has some amazing pictures of orbs too, and they're like none I've ever seen. You know, they're
There,
not
there's
the
faces
usual.
in them sometimes.
Yeah, well, the thing is a lot of the orb pictures that I'm shown photographs quite often in video. Do you think this is real, Steve? And you know, because of my background in visual effects, most of them are are dust in the air, very close to the lens, and
Right.
they're highlighted by the flash. And so those are not always orbs, but the stuff that Shelby's been getting are not that clearly. And I've seen others that are clearly not that. So they are something that's they can see that they can actually capture on camera. So
Well, this was large, and it's like right next to me. Like I'm
Mm.
sitting
wow,
on the couch in my bedroom, and it's right here. And there's no other source of light. I'm in a dormered room. There's no direct light coming at me. I'm in the corner of the room on the couch, and it was a bright orange light. I'll have to send it to you.
and Rachel, I've seen Starlink and it doesn't look anything like Tic Tac. So
Oh, I've
that's,
seen Starlink. Yeah,
yeah, I'd rather not see it personally, but
yeah.
um, you know,
It's not a UFO. It's identified.
no, it's not. It's just Elon space garbage. So
Yeah.
I've had one instance
can
involving orbs that makes me think of what you were just saying, Judy. I've seen lots of orbs, show up on photographs, but what I saw visually with my own eyes was when I was in my childhood farmhouse, living with my mother for a period of time, taking care of her after my father passed away. The one night I was just sitting in my room in the dark, and this large white orb floated in the room, sort of like a helium balloon, just kind of
Mhm,
floating along in the
mhm.
air. And I looked at it and thought, and I wanted to deny that it was there. So I thought that's not really there. So I looked away. Then I looked back again, and it was still there, bopping around in the room. And my thought was, oh, is this my father's spirit? And I had no idea. It didn't communicate with me or anything. But that's interesting, that link to orbs and thinking of one's father in connection with them, Judy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catkins, I can tell the difference pretty much. The dust the dust looks a certain way. And then the other thing too is with orbs, and I've seen some amazing ones on video. Those clearly are not dust, and I've been shown some last year that looked like rods, and they were in the house, and you could see the segment. And it's not bugs either, so um, it's alleged, and I, for myself, believe it's true that we are surrounded with spirit, and that in fact our guest Jeff Harmon, who's going to be on this Saturday, he insists on that. He says if we could actually see what was all around us all the time, we couldn't even handle it.
Mm.
But again, as our guest today, who will be on the following weekend, suggests, is that if we raise to a higher frequency, which a lot of us are doing, we will be able to observe that. And I don't think I would have a hard time with that. I just don't. I mean, I think it'd be wonderful and to be able to see spirits not just once in a while, but regularly and interact with them because we are spiritual beings. We're both spirit and physical, and we should be interacting more with our spiritual selves and all the spirit that's around us than we do. The fact that we're closed off to that and don't even believe it's real, I think in a lot of ways is dangerous to our spiritual health. So we need to reconnect.
Yeah.
My best friend sees incredible, incredible visions. And for me, that's a very occasional sort of thing. I'm what I experience is very strong empathic energy off of things, but not necessarily visions. So I think that there are different sorts of gifts that we naturally have as ways of of connecting with these energies, and some people might be more gifted in some of those areas than in others. But I definitely Steve, the person whom you're going to do the drawing for me for,
Yes,
my friend
I
who
saw his picture.
who says that
He got a lovely face.
he works on the spaceship.
Right.
That's just an incredible thing, and it would be very easy to say that can't possibly be true, but yet if I am going to say that, then I don't want people saying that my experiences can't possibly be true,
Hmm.
um, even though the things are so unbelievable. So
Yeah.
I guess we have different sorts of natural gifts. It does seem that when I had access to the chat in the last week or so, and you guys were talking about what do people do for a living and what are people's hobbies and things, that nearly everything I saw was, I'm an artist, I'm an artist, I'm an
Me
artist,
too.
I'm an
Yeah,
artist.
sure.
Creative
And so
people.
I
And
wonder,
telepathy is the universal
yeah,
language in highway. I like that, Abbott. That's very
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think artists. I mean, I'm a writer, and I've done different things like watercolors and pottery and things like that. But writing is what I went to school for, and I think creative people are just tuned to a higher frequency, and I think that our bodies are like receivers of frequency, and
mhm,
that if you are a creative person and you can tune into those higher frequencies. And I don't mean higher as in better, I mean literally higher.
Mhm.
mhm,
Then you can receive those things. And I've seen things, I've heard things. It's it does. I can't make it happen. Um, it happens spontaneously, but it does happen, and it is real.
yes,
Judy,
yeah,
have you read The Artist Way?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
oh
And that's
yeah.
what you were
I love
saying.
it.
I thought of the great creator,
Yeah,
and we channel our art
yeah,
is channeled through us because
yeah.
a lot but just think about
From
when you're
source.
doing something, when you're writing, when you're painting, when you're sculpting, it's like you're you just turn off
Mhm.
that verbal and
Thinking mind.
you're
Thinking
just
mind
there.
goes away and you're
Yes.
connecting. Yeah, writing, painting, sculpting, anything like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, some people get it from like I think my husband gets that from running, you know?
mhm,
It just the thinking mind goes away and you just be. You and things come. If you're doing a creative thing, things will come to you. Yeah.
yeah, Judy. I think that all of my do you have an MFA, Judy,
I
in
have a
creative?
master's in creative writing and English literature from
Okay,
Binghamton. Yeah.
me too. Not from
Mhm.
Binghamton, but same degree.
Yeah.
Though I would say that any of my writing in my book and so forth was didn't in no way come through any kind of an intellectual
Mm.
process. But then the later intellectual process involved the
The
editing
editing, the
and all of
rewriting.
that. But
Yeah.
but the creation of the thing had nothing to do with me thinking I'm going to write a poem about blank.
Yeah.
And in fact, in starting writing, if I ever think I'm going to write about a certain thing,
Doesn't go well.
about two paragraphs in, all of a sudden the real poem arrives, which
Yeah.
has nothing to do with what I thought maybe I was going to write about.
Yeah.
So those things arrive in some capacity beyond just the intellect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's my experience too. I only
Yeah.
have one poetry book on my master's thesis was published. And that was my experience of it too. It was I was in the zone,
Mhm.
receiving the material, and then I worked with what I got.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the stuff that I write, I watch what other writers talk about and how to do things, and this is how you create a story and you outline this. And I think about that. And I think I really should do that this time, and I never do. And I talked to Whitley about this too. Oh, thank you, Kim. I talked to Whitley about this
Thanks,
too. I
Kim.
said, "Yeah, do you make outlines and stuff like that?" No. I said,
No,
"So you
God, no.
no?" I just sit down and write, and it's like, well, that's what I do, and it is spontaneous, you know. And I'm writing a script right now because someone here, and I don't remember who it is, and please forgive me. They suggested they liked my CGI imagery or artwork, graphics, animation, whatever you like to call it, so much. They said you should do a show where there isn't anybody on camera, that it's all done with the CG and just narrated with the person's voice. So I'm
Interesting.
very thing right now, and I had an idea in my mind. It just popped in, and this is what you should do. The name of the script is Reality. Interesting, huh? That wasn't my idea. It just, there it was, reality. Okay, so I sat down and I just started writing the script. By page 4, it was just like I'd written it before or something. It's difficult to explain. It's all there and it all makes sense and it's working and it's going to make a neat little film. And it's just I'm not guiding myself. I'm not writing down an outline. I'm not thinking out ahead of time and thinking about plot and characters. That just literally comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Those are
Yeah.
two different parts of your brain
Yeah.
that do
That's
those two
right.
functions. You know, your right brain is the creator, your left brain is the analyzer. So you create and then you go in and you work on it.
Yeah, it's really a two-part process.
Yeah.
With the writing, and another thing that I've done over the years is I sing with classical music with symphony orchestras.
Oh.
And so there's the part of it of the learning about music and music theory and the studying of the notes, the studying of the compositions. There's all of that, but then in the performance there's something else that is happening.
Yeah.
And I presume it's the same thing for a painter or a ballet
Probably.
artist, an actor.
Yeah.
That there's a sort of a channeling, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
that creation thing.
Yeah. I've done all that stuff too, like amateur acting and singing and performing and stuff. And musical, we're very musical. I play piano and flute and sing, and it's it's two different things. It's the learning, and once you learn it, and then it's almost like spirit takes over and muscle
Yes.
memory takes over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And both parts are equally necessary to if you don't have that muscle memory, if you haven't studied, if you
Right.
haven't done that,
If you haven't
then
done the work.
if you
Yeah.
haven't done the work, then your ability to deal with the inspiration is going to be muted, perhaps.
Yeah, diminished, definitely.
Diminished, yes.
Yeah. My son
Yeah.
is a musician, and he's been playing guitar since he was 7. He's been playing piano and viola, and he just plays and plays and plays and plays, and he's gotten so good, and he has a band, and you know, they do all kinds of things. But it's really amazing to hear when he writes something original and he'll play it, and I can't tell. I mean, like, I know that's something.
Yeah.
I know that's something, and it's not. It's him. It's original,
Mhm.
and it's just like, you know, he's creating something new, and it's really good. It's amazing. The artistic process is really a cool thing, and we're all artists here.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah, and so is Whitley. I mean,
Yeah.
being
Writer. Doesn't he
writer
paint too?
and a poet. Whitley, no. I
No?
never asked him, you know, but I don't think so, because he'll often ask me to make him something, and I did the book cover for the book about and what's it called? The Afterlife? No.
The Afterlife Revolution.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a senior moment there for a moment. Yeah, but yeah, and he wasn't. He needed a different cover, and he asked me one morning to do it, and I did it in that morning. So, and it's stuck ever since. So, wow. So we're all artists. That's interesting. I wonder if it's 100% we're all artists. I know it's a large percentage, but wouldn't it be something to find out if it just, you know, it's something I got to start asking people
Yeah,
about
that's
who
interesting.
have these experiences, because that's a correlation that's pretty strong, and
Mhm.
something's up with that. They're. I don't think it's just that they're attracted to people who went out and looked at the stars when they were little, and they like to paint and draw and sculpt and create art and music.
Well, I think it's your frequency.
I think it's
Yes.
the other way around. I can't know
Your
that. for
aura.
sure. No, I think
Who
something
you
else is
are.
on here. I really do. So, you know, that's something that when you're in their realm, you just don't seem to be able to ask questions. And if I was to ask a question of them, it wouldn't be where they're from, or anything like that. It would be, do you like music? Do you have art? Are you creative? You know, I mean, because I think that's really an important thing. And I think they do too. Maybe it's something they lost, and they're trying to get back. I don't know. But technology can seem to take you over and detach you from being in touch with yourself and being able to let that creative energy out. So I mean, starting to do that. People are getting lazy, and with music and with art. I mean, there's whole uh, uh, Facebook pages and other communities of what are called AI artists. And I really kind of think about that. It's like, are they really artists? I mean, they've got ideas. And is AI really another paintbrush? And when you get this beautiful image from it, do you really take full credit for that as being the artist who created that? Those are questions that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it works. Is it just like a tool, you know?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I will go in and say, I'll be in the show like I was, and of someone on a motorcycle next to a lake at night, and the stars out, and you know, I could spend some time doing that, getting the motorcycle model and putting a metahuman on it and setting all that up, or I can just go to Playground for free and describe that, and it'll give it to me.
Yeah, well, like what I did with my thumbnail this week is I asked AI to give me one thing. I snapped a picture of it, took it into Photoshop, took out the parts I didn't like, and
There is
and then
Justin.
added to it. So I use it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't rely on it 100% because it's not my idea. I just want parts of it.
Yeah, that's kind of like going like old school and cutting up a magazine and making a
Yeah,
collage. Yeah,
exactly.
cutting and pasting. Yeah.
Check that comment out. This is from someone I'm getting to know who's
Ooh, interesting.
who's helping us with our
Oh,
show for the future.
Wow.
You know,
that's an
good
interesting.
one, Hot Rod.
Yeah. Wow.
Hot Rod is on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that is
that's
very
well, he's in the
interesting.
UK, and we all know that Doug and Dave didn't create the crop circles. It's unfortunate that people in this country are so. Well, I'm going to be nice here, but they are so that they actually fall for that stuff. I mean, I run into people, or have in the past all the time, that would say, "Oh, Steve, there's nothing to those." But I saw it on the news; those guys, and it just, you know, they're
Have you
bleeding.
ever seen them?
Yeah, no, they don't
Those
look.
doofuses
They don't pay
stomping
attention.
around out in
They
the
Yeah.
don't have
fields and the
critical thinking. They
fields.
don't look at those crop circles and say, "How did Doug and Dave with a roller do that?"
They
Yeah.
didn't. They
They don't
didn't. That's the
read
short
that.
answer.
Yeah, they don't read that the crop circles are the wheat's laying down. It's not bent over. The stalks aren't broken. They don't get that far. They don't read that stuff. So how does that done? Then the fact that we've detected that this is being done with some sort of microwave,
Hmm.
which suggests that somebody is above and they're programming. They're basically printing in the wheat with some sort
Mhm.
of, microwave printer that's literally pushing the wheat down exactly in something that they've already pre-programmed into their machine or computer, that it may be their art. Yes.
I always thought it was a way of communicating to us, and
It is.
math had something to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one I love is the one that was near the radio station that had the gray.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, in the maze next to it, and evidently that was there, not there 1 minute, and there the next. It appeared that quickly, and they often appear that quickly. And
Now, where are they all over England? I've only been there once in my life. Are they all over, or are they primarily in one area? Do you know?
I'm sorry, the hot rod distracted me again.
Oh, stop that, hot rod. I was just wondering if you knew, are the crop circles like all over England, or are they usually showing up in a certain area, or I don't know, like where
Well,
they're.
they're all over, and I think they've even had some in France. Correct me if I'm wrong, hot rod. And
Oh, really?
we've had them here in the United States too. I was due to take a Big Daddy Roth on a tour. Whoa!
Oh,
Sadly,
wow.
he died before he could get to UK to meet up. Wow.
Mm.
We all know who Big Daddy Roth here is?
No,
I do not.
Yeah,
I
he was an amazing artist who drew. You remember the big rat fink character with the red T-shirt on saying "rat fink" and the big popping out eyes, and he's sitting on top of a hot rod with a big shifter and a big V8 with a
Oh,
blower on top. I mean,
okay.
he did all
Oh,
these
okay.
crazy characters back during the '60s and stuff. They
Okay.
made model kits of his stuff. I mean, he's infamous. So, right, hot rod. So. Wow, all over, he says, but mainly in Wiltshire.
Mainly where?
There.
In Wiltshire.
Wiltshire.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Wiltshire. So, interesting that most of them would be located in that one area. So that's highly suggested to skeptics. But again, okay, skeptics, debunkers, tell me, how do they lay down the wheat? How do they do it without breaking it? And how do they do such incredibly precise, accurate geometric patterns?
It's a stencil. It's a big stencil, and they bring it down with a helicopter.
And it must be heated up. Yeah. Cost them lots of money, and no one's even trying to claim they did it. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
What do you think about that, Joe Nichols?
They're playing the long game.
Steve,
Yeah.
is Nova down there with you?
She's right here next to me.
Okay, good.
My nose is starting to run again.
Somebody else's dog.
My neighbor's dog was barking out in my yard.
Oh, that's
That
a
maybe
big
I don't know if that could have been picked up in the house here, but Lulu was outside barking. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it might have been Nova.
Oh, speaking of that, another thing that shows that I'm certifiable is that if animals wish to, they can telepathically communicate with me.
Always.
I have
And
that.
I
They-
didn't
that's
know
how
that was even a thing till recently. I just thought that was my
Really?
own particular thing, like the dog outside Lulu. If she desires, she can just come up to me and beam a whole message directly
Oh,
into me.
absolutely.
And I just have to talk back to her out loud because I don't know how to do this thing. But just occasionally cats, dogs, cows, different animals
Mhm.
give me very complex messages. And I don't know how that communication works at all, and I don't know how to answer the messages other than just talk back to them
It's
out loud
another
and say,
it's
yeah.
another thing I've taken for granted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. My whole
I've
You
life.
always
all-
I've always
what is
spoken telepathically with animals.
Me
Wow.
too.
Wow.
Boy, our neighbors being loud. They always do this around this time. It's 5:13 here, and everyone's supposed to be gone, except us. Anyway, well, this has been a great conversation, you guys. It really
Yeah.
has.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
thrilled everybody could make it.
We got to go home and feed up Puppy, who's pacing back and forth with her ball in her mouth because she's very nervous because of this time of year. It's this holiday we have over here called
Oh, fireworks and
4th of
dogs.
July.
Oh, yeah.
And they, and fireworks are illegal, and yet you'll hear things that literally shake your windows going off right next to your house. And the police just can't do anything. But they have drones up this year, and they are catching some people, but they can only do
Fire
so.
hazard. It's a
I'll be
fire.
well, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And we're in California.
I
Well,
know.
the ER is busy on that night because
Yep.
people
Mhm.
are blowing off fingers and pieces of their bodies and everything
Mhm.
else.
Yeah, I used to work in an ER. Yep.
Yeah, so then
I do.
4th of July they come in with fingers blown off and just
Summer is busy anyway. Yeah.
yeah.
Boating accidents,
Not
motorcycle
illegal in
accidents.
Florida. A lot of things aren't illegal in Florida. So is
Oh,
drag
and
racing illegal in Florida? I'm just kidding.
who's in Florida?
A whole bunch
I
of
was
them.
born in
Let
Florida.
me
First Coast.
see.
First Coast, yeah. And he has hobbies and he builds models.
There were 2 or 3
and stuff,
people
which
in
is really cool.
Florida.
So do I. So
Yeah, I was born
all
in
right,
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Well, obviously,
I
Florida
wish
man
we never had.
is.
Me
Florida
too.
man.
This is really a terrific support group, and
Truly.
we didn't know it would turn into that exactly when we started this. We didn't know what happened, but I'm sure glad it did because it's very helpful. It's
It
extremely
really
helpful.
is. Truly. And I hope your
Oh.
shoulder heals up good.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
thanks. I have this neurological illness called central pain syndrome, and
Oh.
it's very, very difficult to deal with it. I mean, right now I'm broiling in so much pain I can barely even talk to you.
dear.
So,
Susan.
I'm so
so
sorry.
Suzanne.
it's
Oh, that's
okay.
Suzanne.
hard.
Yeah. So
Please.
that's just a part of my journey. Yeah. So
Mm.
so thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
lovely
you.
talking
Yeah,
to you.
Susanna, we're just signing out, so I'm sorry
Yeah.
you missed it. But Friday night,
Friday night.
Whitley.
we have Whitley Strieber on,
Really? And you
so,
have to be here for that.
so we
I'll
can
be here
crack
for
jokes
that.
and,
Yes, I will be.
piss them off.
Love
and
you
we'll have a great
guys.
time.
Love you too.
Love you.
Mwah.
See you
Bye-bye.
later.
All.
Thank you so
Very
much.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
You're
Okay.
Good
welcome.
night. Good night.
Good night.